Earthpen. Good day, learners. This is Earthpen. For today's topic, we are going to learn how to divide fractions. Before we discuss how to divide fractions, we need to learn first another mathematical term called reciprocal. Reciprocal is a mathematical term in which we need to switch the numerator and denominator of the fraction. By the way, the top number in the fraction is called the numerator and the number at the bottom is called the denominator. So if you have a fraction 5 over 6 and we need to get the reciprocal of that fraction, all we have to do is switch the numbers 5 and 6. Therefore, the reciprocal of 5 over 6 is 6 over 5. So that's what reciprocal is all about. But what does reciprocals have to do with dividing fractions? Well, reciprocals are used so that dividing fractions will be easy. Whenever we have to divide something to a fraction, all we have to do is multiply it by the reciprocal of that fraction. So for example, you have 5 over 6 divided by 2 over 7. Instead of dividing 5 over 6 to 2 over 7, we can get the reciprocal of 2 over 7 and then multiply it to 5 over 6. The reciprocal of 2 over 7 is 7 over 2. Therefore, the problem becomes 5 over 6 times 7 over 2. Before we continue, let me give you some quick reminder. In dividing fractions, we only need to take the reciprocal of the second fraction or the one we are dividing by. Common mistakes of students are they get the reciprocal of the first fraction or the one that is being divided, or sometimes they get the reciprocal of two fractions, which is very wrong. Again, we just need to take the reciprocal of the second fraction or the one we are dividing by. Back to the problem, we now have an expression of 5 over 6 times 7 over 2. In our previous video, we learned that multiplying fraction is very easy, but if you have not watched that video, I will give you a quick recap on how to multiply fractions. To multiply fractions, all we have to do is multiply the numerators and the denominators of the fractions, and then simplify the result if possible. So in our problem, which is 5 over 6 times 7 over 2, we just need to multiply the two numerators and two denominators. So 5 times 7 is equal to 35, and 6 times 2 is equal to 12. So this means our answer is 35 over 12. And then simplify the fraction. But in this problem, 35 and 12 doesn't have common factor. Therefore, 35 over 12 is in simplified form. So again, to divide fractions, first step is to get the reciprocal of the second fraction, or the one we are dividing by. Second step is to multiply the first fraction by the reciprocal, and then third step is to simplify the answer if possible. Now let's have another example. How about we divide 1/2 by 1/2? Again, we need to get the reciprocal of the second fraction. So the reciprocal of 1/2 is 2 over 1. Therefore, the expression will become 1/2 times 2 over 1. And then multiply the fractions, and the answer becomes 2 over 2, or equal to 1. Now why is it equal to 1? In fraction, there is a rule that if you have the same number in numerator and denominator, it will always be equal to 1. So even though you have 1 million over 1 million, it will always be equal to 1. Quick trivia: any fractions multiplied to its own reciprocal will always give you 1. So if you have a fraction 4 over 5, when multiplied to its own reciprocal, which is 5 over 4, the result will always be equal to 1. So that's how we divide two fractions. But how about we divide fractions and whole number? What are the steps on dividing fractions and whole number? Okay, that's a good question, right? To divide whole number and fractions, all we have to do is convert first the whole number to a fraction. Now how? It is by just simply putting a denominator 1. And then after converting the whole number to a fraction, we can use again the steps in dividing fractions. Let's take this example. 5 divided by 2 over 3. So we need to put a denominator 1 to the whole number 5 to make it a fraction. And now the equation will look like this. 5 divided by 2 over 3 equals to 5 over 1 divided 2 over 3. We now have two fractions. Therefore, we can now apply the steps in dividing fractions. So, first step is to get the reciprocal of the second fraction. The reciprocal of 2 over 3 is 3 over 2. And then we can now multiply it to 5 over 1. To multiply fractions, all we have to do is multiply the numerators and the denominators. So 5 times 3 is equal to 15. And 1 times 2 is equal to 2. Therefore, 5 divided by 2 over 3 is equal to 15 over 2. So that's how we divide whole number and fractions. Now let's have some word problems involving dividing fractions. Shaira has 1/2 of a bag of cat food. She needs to divide it evenly for her 4 cats. What fraction of the original bag does each cat get? In this problem, we need to divide the 1/2 bag of cat food to evenly distribute it to the 4 cats. So we can write it like this. 1/2 divided by 4. To solve this, we need to convert first the whole number to a fraction. Therefore, the expression will become 1/2 divided by 4 over 1. Then, let's get the reciprocal of 4 over 1, which is 1 over 4. And then let's multiply it to 1 over 2 or 1/2. So to multiply two fractions, we need to multiply the numerators and denominators. So 1/2 times 1/4 is equal to 1 over 8. Therefore, each cat is going to get 1 over 8 or 1/8 of that original bag of cat food. Now let's have another example. Steve has a piece of wood that is 4 over 5 feet long. He needed it to cut into pieces that are 1/5 feet long. How many pieces can Steve cut? In order to determine how many pieces of wood can Steve cut, we need to divide the size of the wood, which is 4 over 5 feet, into the piece of wood that is 1 over 5 feet long. So to divide it, we need to get the reciprocal of the second fraction, which is 1 over 5. So the reciprocal of 1 over 5 is 5 over 1. And then we multiply this reciprocal to 4 over 5. 4 over 5 times 5 over 1 is equal to 4. Therefore, Steve can get 4 pieces if he cut the wood that is 4 over 5 feet long into 1 over 5 feet pieces. So that's the process in dividing fractions. It is easy, right? We just need to remember that if we can multiply fractions, then we can also divide fractions as well. Because in dividing fractions, all we have to do is take the reciprocal of the second fraction and then multiply it to the first fraction. And also, a simple reminder, don't forget to always simplify the fractions. So that's it guys, I hope you learned a lot today. Also, you can watch our other video tutorials here in our channel. Once again, this is Earthpen. Learning has never been this easy for anyone, anywhere. Have a nice day.